Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Hangout with Coach Kerry. In fact, today is episode 64 of my Hangouts, and if you want to watch any of the other videos that I have created, then go to HangOutWithCoachKerry.com. Kerry is spelled K-E-R-R-Y, and there's lots of videos that are there. I've created all of these videos and tools and tips for you, the solo entrepreneur, small business owner. That you might even be working part-time in your business. You might have another job. Maybe you are working full-time, but you're working crazy hours trying to make some money and have some fun. So what I've done is I've created these tools for you to help you and support you, because I know often you've come into your business with a passion for what you do, and you may not know actually much about how to actually run a business. So that's my mission. My name is Kerry Brown, and I'm an 18-year veteran of the business coaching industry. I've been coaching thousands and thousands of solo entrepreneurs and small business owners across the world, and I know really a thing or two about what it takes to be successful in business. I've created a very successful coaching business myself, and I'm now turning a lot of my knowledge and expertise over to those of you in this format. So remember, it's every Monday morning, 9 a.m. Pacific. You can watch it live, or you can watch any of the episodes recorded on the website. Please comment there. I get back to you. I give you some feedback. I'd like to know what your takeaways are from any of the episodes that you happen to watch. And please do share them with other people that you know could benefit from it. I really appreciate it. That's the highest honor that I can get as a coach, to have people feel that they get inspired and get the knowledge they need from the work that I do in the world. So today our episode is how to create a compelling ad, flyer, brochure, Facebook post, any of those kinds of things that actually get some action, that actually gets your audience that you want reading it, responding to it, noticing it, all of that. And today I have two of my VIP panelists on to help me. They always ask me great questions, which leads into a great discussion and conversation. And I'd like to have them introduce themselves to you. So Dr. Diane Galbraith, why don't you tell everyone in this audience who you are and what it is you do and how they can find out more about you.
Thank you, Kerry, and good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Diane Galbraith. I'm a former family physician and mother of 7 and grandmother of 1. What I do is I work with women who are looking to regain their health. Perhaps they've spent so much time and energy on their business or on their family, or just life gets in the way of their health. And so I help them come up with very practical, easy solutions that they can fit into their already busy schedule. Just little changes that they can make in their life that can make a big difference for their health. And you can find me at www.first1stgethealthy.com. And if you go there, you can also subscribe to my monthly newsletter.
Great, excellent, thank you. And Grace Gary, tell us about you.
Good morning, Kerry. So I'm Grace Gary, and I'm a counselor. My business is Graceful Solutions, and I help people who get stuck in some part of their life and they need help to move on so they can achieve their goals. And I have a special interest in emotional eating and weight loss, and I have a 30-day weight loss challenge coming up starting next week. And you can find me at gracefulsolutions.ca.
Great, excellent. And so perfect time for people to think about doing a weight loss challenge. I don't know about you, but in the summertime when it's warm, I don't actually eat as much, so it's a little easier to actually keep those goals. So I would encourage everyone to look at what Grace's program offers. So today we're talking about how to write a compelling ad, and so really what we're talking about is we're talking about marketing. So we're in the realm of marketing. And what is marketing? Marketing is anything that we do to actually generate a lead, to have a potential client, a prospect, interact with us so that we then can take them through our process so that they know what they're doing. So, or at least that they then know what it is that we do, and we can encourage them to buy our product, buy our service, whatever that happens to be. So that's marketing. Now, I want to draw a distinction between marketing and advertising. Advertising is one component of marketing, and often we think that advertising is the only kind of marketing. And if you've been a a fan of my episodes, you know that quite often I talk about other marketing strategies that have nothing to do with placing an ad, whether that be on the radio, on the television, in newspaper, or anything else. So today what we're talking about is what I would call anything that is an ad, and anything that you are using in terms of marketing where there's some print or some visual that people are going to be interacting with you to see what you're all about. So that can be anything like it could be auditory as well, so it could be a radio ad. It could be a television ad. It could be an ad in any of your larger newspapers, or even in your local little flyer that goes around to the households. You know, often those ads are not expensive, so often we think we'll put something in, and that I want you to treat the same way you would as if you're spending thousands and thousands of dollars on an ad that's going in your maybe a national newspaper. But in addition to that, it's everything that anything that your potential client is going to interact with you. So that would be any Facebook ads that you might be putting in, even Facebook posts. What about brochures? What about flyers? You know, I so often see people write a piece of copy or content of something, and they don't take into consideration these pieces in it, because remember, again, we want to catch their attention. Today, our audience is inundated with so many different messages coming at them from so many different directions. How are you going to stand out from the noise? How are you going to be different than anyone else? And I'm going to suggest to you that you do not fall into the trap of doing any kind of marketing, including any advertising that you're paying for in it, and assuming that and buying into the notion that it's just image advertising. A lot of times people in the service industry feel that they can get their name out there, and that sort of visual, constantly seeing people, or people seeing you, is enough to spend a lot of money on an ad. And I'm going to disagree with you on that. Any opportunity that you have to be front and center, you want to capitalize on it, because not only is time money, but the money you're spending is money that requires your time to generate it. So I want you to be very, very diligent in making sure that you are spending your time in the right place and your money in the right place. Okay, so everybody got it? So you know that's what this episode is about. So I'm going to go to Diana. I'm going to have you unmute yourself, yeah, and you can ask me my first question.
So let's say that you've decided to run one of these ads. What would be the basic components of putting this together?
Great. And I'm going to put my glasses on because then I can read some notes I made to make sure I don't miss some pieces here. So there's some fundamentals of a great ad. And remember, this is anything that people are interacting with you. And the first one is you have to step back for a moment and ask yourself, who is my potential customer? Now, you may have already done this work if you've been a participant or a student in my strategy map program. We know we talk about who is your ideal client and being clear on that part. But you may be running an ad for a different or even a smaller niche in that. So you really want to know who your potential client is. Who is that group of person that is most likely to buy from you in that place where you're placing it? So if you're sponsoring a golf tournament, for an example, and you're going to be having something created to be shown as a sponsor at a particular hole, rather than just your logo. I mean, if you have the opportunity to write something more, you want to think, okay, these are golfers. What is it about golfers that is going to be unique to my business that they're going to be compelled by what they see from me to take an action? So remember, you want to be clear who your potential customer is with that particular marketing piece that you're doing. So you want to ask yourself, does this particular product or service have an obvious target market? Is it clear in the ad? Are the images I'm using going to resonate with my audience? So you want to be clear on that. Diana, for you, for an example, I noticed that your banner behind you has a mother with children and they're running. So a mother is going to identify with that if they're looking at that particular piece. So it's always looking at those pieces so people can identify with it. The second piece then is once you identified who this particular audience is, you want to determine what are their desires. What do they want? And the desires are really because people buy goods and services for one of two reasons only. And two reasons only. They either want to decrease pain that's currently in their lives, and that isn't necessarily physical pain, although they could be feeling physical pain, but it can be emotional pain. It can be the pain of not being able to do something with your family. It can be, Grace, for you, it's the pain of knowing that you're going to be going to a school reunion and knowing that you're going to be meeting people. It can be the pain of being aware that your clothes don't fit you anymore. It can be the pain for me of a client who says, year after year my income is looking about the same in my business and I need to change something. I need to do something different. So that's an emotional and as well as a practical pain because they're talking about cash flow. So there has to be that. And the second reason is they actually want to increase pleasure in their lives. And I will tell you, so either pain or pleasure. So you're going to have to write copy that's going to communicate to them. Now, I will tell you that people are more highly motivated by a pain or a problem they have in their life than by pleasure. It's a much higher incident of that. And let's think of ourselves. I mean, panelists, just ask you, if last time you made a decision on something, it's usually motivated by, okay, I'm done. I have to change this. I need to pick up the phone. I need to call this. I need to look for that solution. Rarely are we looking for pleasure, or at least certainly proportionally significantly less than that. So you want to ask yourself when you've written what you're writing, does this talk directly about the benefits to the customer? So what's in it for them? Does it address the reader's potential pains that they've got or possible pains they have? Or does it address their future pleasures? So you want to be clear that you've written it with that in mind. So your copy has that included in it. So they can say, she's speaking directly to me. And I would challenge all your audience and even our panelists today that over the next week to be very intentional when you look at a newspaper, when you look at a magazine, when you watch a television ad, when you listen to an ad on the radio. And not all are well done, by the way. So don't assume that people who sell advertising and any kind of marketing strategies that they're actually good at writing ads. Their job is to sell advertising, and so be it. That's their job, and more power to them. But it's up to you. You have to be empowered to actually take control of what your ad looks like. So I would encourage you to start looking and saying, okay, why is it that what is it about that caught my attention? So that you actually start developing that skill, that reticular activator yourself, of discerning what is a good ad and what isn't. The other thing, it has to have a level of trust in it. According to a lot of research with large companies, the average consumer is bombarded with more than 5,000 marketing messages every single day. In fact, that statistic could even be low. So they're getting bombarded all the time. So why are they going to believe you over anyone else? So there has to be what's called real reasons to believe in the ad. So that's where a designation, for an example, so Diana, it would be Dr. Diana, right? That's why I introduce you as that, because you've got that. Grace, you're a registered counselor. So you're gonna make sure that you've got your designations that are there, because that's a real reason to believe. It's a third-party piece. Testimonials can also do that as well. If you've got a large enough space for testimonials, that's, again, a real reason to believe what you're saying, your program or whatever your service is will deliver, that they're going to believe that it does. So they have to build that level of trust. So ask yourself, does this give my reader a real reason to believe what I'm saying? Have I included that somewhere in here? And you can you can say that a couple of times in a couple of different ways. So for an example, Diana, for you, not only are you a doctor, but you are a mother that actually birthed 7 children and raised them. That's another real reason to believe. So that's a key piece. You want to make sure that that's included in it. But you might even take include a picture of you and your family in your ad, so people can see that. Again, Grace, for you, using somebody who's got a before and after, if they're willing to do that, because then again, that's a real reason to believe, right? That's why you see before and after pictures, because it's not you saying it, because you could be not telling the truth, that there's some evidence that's there. And then the last key piece is vive la différence. You have to be different. There has to be something that's going to make your ad stand out from everyone else. So you've caught their attention because you've spoken to your potential customer. You've spoken directly to their desires, either dealing with their pain or their pleasure. and you've communicated why they should trust you. So now they have to have them, and so that they obviously believe you. So why are you different than anyone else? Does this ad position you as being different? What is it that's going to be unique about what you do than anyone else? So again, this is a Facebook ad, this can be a flyer, this can be a brochure, this can be writing the copy on your website. Exactly the same piece. So Diana, I hope that answered your questions in terms of, what are those fundamental pieces that have to be in writing any of those. That's great. Did that answer your questions?
Yes, that was great, Kerry. Thank you.
You see how you could use some of these for you when you're doing any ads or any posts or anything else you're doing?
Yes. No, that was fantastic. Thank you.
Great. Excellent. Okay, so Grace, what's your question for me?
Kerry, well, I'm really interested in what you were saying about speaking to the person's pain and then, giving them hope and solutions with your what you're going to offer. I'm interested in how important is the headline for your ad, or it could be for your newsletter, opening on the headline for your newsletter.
Sure, absolutely. And it'd even be, when they land on a page on your website, what does it say on your website? So I would say that your headline is absolutely crucial. So this is where you want to make sure that you've really nailed it when it comes to it. In fact, the headline is the ad for your ad. Does that make sense? It's the ad for your ad. It tells them, it has to catch their attention about what they're going to get when they read further. Or they won't stay if it's your website, if it's a landing page, if it's a Facebook post. There's got to be something in it that's going to catch their attention. And again, homework for all of you is this week, be aware of those ads out there. Look for those headlines that catch your attention, and then ask yourself, and especially those ones where you are the specific audience for them, then what was it about that particular headline that caught my attention? If a person is not in business for themselves, a headline that talks about, 3 surefire ways to make more money in your small business isn't going to catch their attention. And that's okay, because remember, what we're not looking for is to try to attract everyone. We're actually trying to resonate with our specific audience. Really important. So the headline is absolutely critical. It's the ad for your ad. And studies show that people will scan the headlines before deciding what to read. And especially if it's a newsletter, if you look at the headlines, or you look at the subject lines that come in your inbox, how do you decide which ones you're going to read? How do you decide which ones you're not going to? It's going to be what's in the headline. So the headline must be very direct. So does it actually speak to the target audience that's there? Does it maybe talk about pain or pleasure in it? So how well is your strategy of the headline communicated in that headline? So you really, really want to take a look at the language that you use. And what I often will do is I will actually keep a document folder on my in my inbox, and I'll drag and drop catchy headlines that I see other people use that have caught my attention. Because I guarantee you, they've borrowed them from someone else as well. And you can see them be recycled, but you've got to, you know that the people who are successful in your industry, start watching what they're saying. Start looking at what attracts your attention. And I guarantee you that in those headlines, it might say something like, something about weight loss might be right in the headline. Something about, being, I don't want to encourage people to think they need to be skinny, but, something that actually has that. We know what that means. So words that speak the language of what it is that you want to convey to people. Because if they don't open the email message, it all is for naught. If they don't stay on your website page, all is for naught. If it's an ad that you put somewhere and they scan it and they don't read it any further, all is for naught. So that's why the headline is the ad for the ad. So great question, Grace. Did that answer your question?
Yes, Kerry, I just unmuted myself. I like the idea that it's the ad for the ad, because of course, no matter how great your ad is, if they don't open it, then it's all for naught. So that makes a lot of sense.
Great, excellent. And even start listening to radio ads. Watch television and see what they say first. you know, or is it image? Of course, you know, they can use a lot of image in newspaper advertising, but just remember, you've got to have something that stands out, and then you move to what your message is. And please, 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 I know that you love your new picture that you've got. I know you love that new headshot. And I know that you've worked hard for your business name, but I will guarantee you that your picture and your business name are not going to be what's going to compel people to respond to you. Unless you're somebody like Donald Trump or Richard Branson or the Queen, that you've got, you know, an immediately recognizable image. You want a picture that's going to attract them. And it could be a picture of someone not even remotely looking like you, but something that's going to, if you're going to use an ad, something, or sorry, a picture in your ad, it's got to be something that's going to draw them in. It's going to be somebody that they can identify with. And your business name, well, at the end of the day, that's really irrelevant in the ad. That should be down in the very bottom, not where that expensive real estate, as I like to call it, in an ad or a flyer or a brochure. So there's some other pieces. I'm going to continue to go further on from, Grace, what you asked me, and I want to also talk about the body copy. So now you've got your ad for your ad. The body copy should begin where the headline left off, so that it makes sense, and then expand on it. You've caught their attention. You'll immediately lose them if what you're saying now doesn't fit with what the next thing. So it needs to make sense. It needs to flow right into it. And also, you're going to give more reasons, of course, for the reader to believe you, because it's going to be congruent. I don't know if you ever look at some of the spam emails that you get, but they have a great headline, but their headline has nothing to do with what's in the body copy. So immediately you're going to lose interest. The reason I know I can scan whether it's a spam piece of email, even if it hasn't been picked up on my filter, is the fact that the headline isn't what the copy says. So it's totally unrelated. You know, they'll use Oprah or something in the headline, and then it won't be anything to do with that at all. So this is where you have to establish that credibility. So your body copy. So ask yourself, how well is the message expanded? Will the reader have confidence in the message? You know, that consistency, congruency that's there. And is the body copy easy to read? Remember, this isn't where we want to show off our ability to be able to write great prose or catchy things. You know, if a potential client or customer is confused, you've lost them. So you have to be really clear what you're writing so that they get it. Then you also have to have a call to action. I don't know how many times I find it incredibly frustrating for me, from my perspective, when I look at all of the ads that people have spent money on and there's no call to action. So even so much as that if you're writing something that's got a deadline on it, it's got what they call a Johnson box, or one of those little star things or something in it, which is, you know, call now, or, you know, the first 10 people who respond will get this discount, or something like that. So there's a call to action that's there. You know, mention this number for a certain discount. It's a way also whether you can track whether that particular marketing piece is actually getting you the results. And how do you know? Well, so often people don't. You know, so often when I deal with people in the service industry, they'll say, well, I've got stuff all over the place. How would I know? Well, if you actually put something in an ad that said, you know, mention this for your free copy of how to, then people are going to ask you for that, and you're going to know whether it worked or not. So in addition to that, in addition to the call to action, so you need to tell the reader exactly what you want them to do. So call, phone, text, go to website, you know, really clear. You have to tell them what to do. So ask yourself, if you're looking at something you've written, does it have a strong call to action in it? Then the last two pieces in here is you have to have some kind of an offer. So an offer for them to take action now. So this goes hand in hand with the call to action. It's a good idea to include some kind of an offer, which it should be limited to a certain period of time or a certain quantity. And it doesn't have to be a discount. I'm a firm believer of a value add, something that you might add or give to people. This is often if you've got a strategic alliance relationship or a joint venture relationship where you could be offering something that somebody else has that's a really good match for your audience. It has to make sense. For an example, Diana, if you were offering something, you made an offer, and you were telling people they could get a $30 or $50 discount on their new winter tires, well, that doesn't make any sense at all. The same thing for you, Grace. You know, if yours was what you were doing, but it was also a discount on maybe a logo or a graphic design, it doesn't fit. So it's got to be something that absolutely fits with it. So ask yourself then, do you have an offer in it? Yes or no? Is the offer limited? And will it make the reader take action? Okay, those are the questions you want to ask. And then the last piece is you want to look at the layout. And I've already hinted a bit to it. You don't have, your company name and your picture right up front because that's not important. So the layout should be visually pleasing, and it should include enough white space. And this is so important. Start keeping examples of ads that have lots of white space and some that don't at all. And just notice for yourself which is the easier to read, which is the more compelling. Sometimes what we'll do is we'll make this font even smaller so we can fit more in. And the fact of the matter is that it's irrelevant because people aren't going to read it anyway. Okay, bottom line. So you're going to need lots of white space. It should include pictures, what I call Johnson boxes, those things that are then things to highlight important features, things that are boxes, so that people know what they should be looking at. So they should start at sort of the top right and go off to the bottom, top left and go off to the bottom right. That's kind of the eye visually moves that direction in English cultures because that's how we read. So you want to ask yourself, is the layout of what I've created, if it's a Facebook ad, if it's a brochure or flyer, is it visually pleasing? Does it include pictures? And pictures that people can relate to? Maybe if it doesn't, would a picture help? Would it make it look better? Sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it is. Does it include the other elements described that we've talked about in the ad? So just do another check back to make sure it's got all of those pieces. Because again, time is money, and if you're spending money, if you're spending your time, you want to make sure that you're getting the best results possible from the ad or flyer that you put in. So it's also a really good piece of homework, if you dare to do it, is go back to something that you've done before that maybe you were struggling with what the results were on it. Maybe you didn't get as many people, and go back and ask yourself, did I have those components in it? And if you did, great. It may have just been look at the copy, look at the other pieces in it. Maybe there's not enough exposure. Maybe there aren't enough potential people for what your product and service is that it's being reached. So it could be a problem of reach. But always start with these components of the ad. So I'd like to hear from my two panelists about what your takeaways are from today, and that'll help our audience also kind of cement some of the learning that they have. So we'll start with you, Dr. Diana, first.
Well, I think just the way you laid it out, Kerry, and made it a step-by-step process, and what are the really important parts, and how to make those really count. Yeah, no, it was very, very good. It was just very well laid out and lots of thought. I also like the idea of really paying attention to other ads that are out there, and might even be worth doing a Google search for some of the ads that would be pertinent in my own area. So that was very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Great. And Grace, how about for you?
Yes, I also liked the reminder to look at other people's ads. I know when I first got my business card, I was looking at everybody else's business card, and I could see lots that I didn't like the design of. So it really, helps you learn from other people's successes and mistakes. What else did I like? I like being to engage the client's attention and not waste their time. Make it really easy for them to get what it is we're offering by the language we're using, and making white space, making it look nice, being thoughtful about the kind of language so that it's really clear to them what it is, how we understand their problem, and how we're going to address it. So that was very useful.
Excellent. Good. Excellent. So for the audience, I've got a little bonus for you, is that in the next day I will have that template up on my Hangout with Coach Kerry website under resources. So you'll be able to go and find it there and use it for yourself. So that's great. And then while you're there, don't forget to grab a copy of my book, How to Get Out of Overwhelm and Accelerate Your Results Now. And it's on the website, hangoutwithcoachkerry.com. So again, everyone, you can connect with me on all social media channels, but go to my website. There's all the links that are there. I look forward to seeing your comments on the posts, and next week, same time, same station, for our next episode of Hang Out with Coach Kerry. Thank you again to my VIP panelists today. I really appreciate your questions, and I know my audience does as well, and thank you very much for your time. Goodbye, everybody. Have a really inspired week. Bye-bye.